this thing work? Okay. Oops. Wrong button. Use this stupid shit. The fuck how do you use this shit? This shit's weird. Hold on. Hold on. What the fuck? Fuck. How do you even use this shit? I don't know. I don't know. Oh. There we go. There we go. Okay. Let's add some music. Any free. Don't mind. Hey. Cute. Alright. Let's get this party started. Put on this weird headset. Put this on. Headphones. There we go. Sound check. Okay. Should be good. Alright. What's that do? Back, forth, forth. Okay, I need an axe. just 1, 2. I'm joking. Oops. Alright. Let's go. Pop. I don't know the song. I don't know top baby song. I feel bad for who was there. I don't know if this forest that I made. I can't do this. I need to. Oh, it is getting dark. This might dinner. Alright, that time is at oops, hopefully that doesn't count as copyright. I mean, it's, they copyrighted it, so, even though it's a song on Spotify, I don't care. Shit, hold on, guys. Oop. Oh, what? Despawn. Just join in. I'll help you. Oh wait, he's already in. What? Supernatural, mostly undefeatable.
Hey, good morning. Let's hope my headphones connect right away. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start calling in students. And yeah, we'll give everyone a minute. I'll pull up our PowerPoint.
Where is he?
as we wait and get ready.
I need a map.
Okay, PowerPoint. I use the actual.
Oh, there's paper inside there. Forgot.
So let's see. Looks like we're still waiting for a few people to get called in.
I need iron. Supernature, supernatural,
and we're waiting for 2 more students and then we'll get started. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take attendance as we go down.
Mr. Hogg, I'll be right back, all right?
Okay, sure. So we'll start at the top, or actually we'll start at the bottom and work our way up. So our community circle question is, what's a must-do over the summer? So as the weather gets warmer, I'm looking forward to, different things I can do over the summer. We can look at our calendar and see, we have this week, so 1 week, 2, 3, 4, and then next month, 5, 6, and like 6.5 weeks, because we end on June 17th. So we have about 6 weeks of school left, and that's like gonna come up real quick. So I'm wondering, like, what's a must-do over the summer? So I think everyone should read a good book. I've moved on from Three Body Problem, and now I'm reading the Annihilation trilogy. It's the one with like the 2018 movie with Natalie Portman. The movie's not that great, but the book's really good. Jake, what about you? What's a must-do over the summer? Jake, are you there? I'll come back to you. Trip, what's a must-do over the summer?
I'm in a Zoom class.
Okay, cool. And
don't tell anyone.
Let's see. Working our way up. Miles, what about you? What's a must-do over the summer?
Hold on.
Probably what I kind of want to do again. Well, I mean, like, again over the summer, is probably go airsofting with my friends.
Oh, cool. Have you ever gotten, like, a BB stuck in you?
Alright, there we go.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, that sounds really fun. Damien, what about you?
Alright. It works now. Wait. I gotta type a chat.
Damien, are you there? So I'm not sure if you're trying to say anything. Mr. Buchanan, what about you?
Oh, Damien said his headset's broken or something.
Oh, got it. I know. Okay, so Damien, like, what's a must do over the summer, and it can't be video game related. You're trying to branch out.
Okay.
I don't know, something about YouTube.
Oh, wait.
Reach 100-day SMMP on my YouTube. I don't know what that means.
100-day shared media platform.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know. I just made it up.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Alex. So just to show that you're here, you're welcome to put in the chat. What's something that someone should do over the summer, like a must do? Mr. Buchanan, what about you? What's like a must do?
any more of these years, a must do for me is playing.
Yeah.
I usually catch up on a lot of golf that I missed in the spring, so I typically play a lot of golf, and I typically spend a lot of time on the boat with friends.
Okay, cool. And let's see, looks like Milo's here.
Where are you?
And Jake, are you there?
I don't even know. What is this? Who built this? Oh my gosh.
So Milo, welcome. What's a must-do over the summer? You're welcome to. I know you're kind of getting here right now, so you're welcome to put it in the chat. You're welcome to unmute your mic. This means just taking attendance, making sure that when we're here, we're here. Alex, same goes for you. I'd like to know, what's a must-do over the summer? What's something someone should do?
Boom, bop. This is why I create a forest with saplings, so I have unlimited wood.
All right. Well, I'm gonna.
Can you hear me? Can you guys
Yeah,
hear
I
me?
can hear you now. Yeah.
Here, I need
Okay,
it.
sorry, something's going on.
I got it.
Did I miss? I'm guessing I missed the question.
Yes, I got it.
Yeah, it should be right on your screen. So, what's a must-do over the summer?
I don't really have anything to do over the summer. I'll probably just go to the skate park with friends most of the time.
Okay, get outside. Awesome. Finish the animes on my list before it reaches 100. Okay, Milo, what's the top 3 animes you need to watch?
Alright. Oh shit, it's almost night. I don't want to respawn it. That's the thing.
It's crazy that some things that are around when I was a kid are still around, like Pokemon. Whoa, Pokemon came out when I was in 3rd grade, and that was like, how old am I?
Okay.
20 years ago?
Gotta go.
No,
Gotta
like
go fast.
22. Anyways, so we'll hop into what we're doing. Looking forward to see what your top 3 anime are. Okay, so schedule change. So we meet in the morning, make a plan, and then we come back and meet in the afternoon. I have to take attendance, and as I'm doing this, I'm realizing my Wacom tablet isn't plugged in because I had to charge my headphones, and I have only one micro USB cord.
Go to bed.
Oh, 1 second. So we are.
Go to sleep. Go to sleep.
Okay, so going to draw here. So we are over here. Today is what, Tuesday? We're in period 4. So we made it here, and then we also need to jump back here. So we have 2 students who are remote today. Everyone else, 2 students are in person. Everyone else is remote. So you'll meet with Mr. Buchanan in the afternoon. We'll make a plan in the morning about what you're going to do, and then you'll meet with Mr. Buchanan. So to take attendance, you need to submit in today's group work assignment what you worked on.
Apples. It's apples.
So over here in today's folder has our to-do list, and then the group work assignment. Submit a screenshot, check in with Mr. Buchanan, let me know so that I don't mark you absent. Back to our PowerPoint.
There's no apples in there.
So yeah, so if you're remote, you'll sign on. If you're in person, I'll see you. So
Wow.
we might play around because Group B
Scared me.
and Group C is pretty big. We might play around with or I guess this is
What
not
the
necessarily cohort A and cohort B, but just
What
we might
the-
take all the remote students and split them up. So you might check in from 11:55 to 12:35, and then or 12:35 to 1:10. I still need to check with Mr. Buchanan to see how that works. So for today's
Doesn't
plan,
matter.
we're here until 9:40, but we can, since we'll be working in the afternoon, we can leave a little bit sooner. So we'll meet with Mr. Buchanan or Mr. Haug, create a plan for what to work on in the afternoon and what you need. So we're thinking about missing assignments.
Okay. See, this is what I need for.
Planning for upcoming projects.
Supernatural. What the fuck happened? What?
Missing assignments, planning for upcoming projects, thinking about, studying for tests. So if you're using flashcards, how are you going to use them?
Iron nuggets now.
Tests and like where to find info in Schoology. So making sure that you know where to find it. I know some teachers are a little bit more organized than others, so it's good to check in and make sure that we know that where it's at, and then meet in the afternoon and work on the plan. So right now we'll give you like 5 minutes to go through the source and find an assignment, test that you need to work on, project, study for, or retake. You might be working on the same project from last week, but we're thinking about breaking it apart, spacing, and things like that. So make sure you know you would need for later, how you will turn it in, what the directions are, what you need to do to complete it, where to find the directions. So where to find the directions, and then possibly emailing teacher to ask for help. So AM, go through the source and identify what you need to work on today. Send me a message in the chat of what you will be working on. I'll just meet with you. We'll split up. And if you're remote, upload your completed assignment into Schoology to get credit and mark it as present for today. If you're in person, you'll be working on it today looking at X sign. Okay, cool. So we'll break up. I'll take
I need stick.
look at who's here. Well,
Yeah, I'll tell you who's here. So.
oh, that was loud.
All right.
Yeah. I have the list. So just trying to think of, grouping.
Jake.
Always remote, so I'll put them with you. And then that way you can hear it next week. Alex, Milo, Damien. Yeah, Max isn't here right now.
And Miles.
Okay, so this should go by pretty quickly, since it's just 3. So meeting together, trying to figure out what we need, planning for it, and then meeting again. And you're also welcome to get it started now, and then you'll have less work to do in the afternoon. Also I wanted to mention so I wanted to mention that I put the link for Mr. Buchanan over here. So link for afternoon online meeting with Mr. Buchanan. If it's Mr. Buchanan, if it's the same link from last week, then I just posted it here. If you have, I don't know if you have Schoology access, but you're welcome to. If it's different, you're welcome to go ahead, edit and change it, or just send it to me and I can change it for you.
Yeah,
that way.
Oh, sorry. That should be good. That'll actually work for every Tuesday, Friday, because it's the same. All the kids are on the meeting just because they always end up working with me one of the days. So it's the same link for Tuesday and Friday.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think having you remote makes it easy because then it's like I'm here, you're there, and works out. So I think that's it. So looks like we have about 25 minutes. I'm thinking we can get this done. I'm gonna set a timer for myself for 5 minutes. So use this time to go through the source, make a plan of like what you need, where to find it, what you're gonna work on, and possibly pacing. So when I hop in with you, I don't want you to say, oh, I don't know. I'll just hop out, give you another 5 minutes and come back. because we're supposed to be using this time to, independently go through the source and
so much wood.
or Schoology to plan for what we need. Okay, so I will start the timer, and as I do that, I'm going to put everyone in breakout rooms, and Mr. Buchanan will call you to another meeting.
Should just use this. No. Yes, apples. Thank God. Supernatural. Skeletons hanging out. Oh, this would be great, like making a skeleton hanging out. Oh, there's a wood up there. Can't do that. Alright, head to bed, head to bed, head to bed, head to bed. Need food. Because I'm gonna run out in like 10 minutes. So, no, not like 10 minutes. Skeletons hanging out. Yo. Take you. If I can turn this volume up loud. I need food. Oh, oh, oh. Put the apple there. What the? You hear that? Don't I have an axe?
Hey, good morning. So do you know what you need to work on?
Yeah.
What are you going to work on?
I'm going to work on my, what's it called? Oh, my math work. Like, I'm gonna practice some math and stuff.
What exactly are you going to work on though? And how are you going to practice it?
I have a math book.
What does that mean?
I can practice my math so that I can be ready for, like, if there's a quiz.
But are you just gonna open up the math book and go at it, or
Yeah, that's
Think,
pretty
like-
much what I'm gonna do. But I can also do
Okay.
my independent reading since it's due next week.
Okay, well so I want you to find like what actual page and like what the actual plan is. Like, are you using like a study guide from Miss Rhodey? Are you using specific pages? So I want you to find out, what it is. And then I'm also looking at your OneNote, and you have to make sure to complete your OneNote, because when we work on an assignment at the end of the year, and if you haven't worked on the OneNote, then the assignment's going to be pretty hard. So I'm going to come back. So I want to know like exactly what you're going to be working on. So like, is it a page in the workbook, or I don't know.
Yeah.
So I want to
I
know
don't really care.
if it's going to be like a study guide, and I'll see you in like 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, whatever. Wait, is my mic? Okay, no, it's fine, it's fine. I thought my mic was unmuted. Alright. Ooh, that's a lot of sounds. Oh, it's nighttime. Alright, we have a farm.
Hey, okay, so what are you gonna be working on?
I chose just do my independent reading instead, because, I mean, I can get that over with, and
Okay, so I'm also looking at OneNote, and it looks like you're missing 3 out of the 4 assignments, and the one that you did do, the latest one, you only did part of it. So you got to make sure to keep up with the OneNote assignments, because if you don't do them, then you're going to get to the end of the year and then not be able to work on the project, and also not know what's going on.
okay.
So it's really, really important. So during, that hour and 15-minute window, you can sign on and I can help you. I'm always in the meeting. I might be like, if it's 5th period, I should be signed on like within like the first 10 minutes, but I can always help you then. Mr. Wires is also there. And let's see,
God, what are you doing?
too many tabs open.
Okay then.
Yeah, so it looks like staying on top of science, which is good, and visual arts, what? Oh, language arts is okay. What are you missing in math? So you have the topic, I don't know if it's missing.
I drew a gamer.
Why does it keep saying excluded?
I wonder if that's phonetic.
You might want to redo test topic 3,
Alright.
but I'm not sure if you can redo it. Because it's at the end of the quarter. And also the scatter plot test, but it doesn't show if you took it or not. Do you, when we look at the source, and then I gotta run, when we're looking at the source, it looks like the 3 tests, you might want to redo these so you can get more than 60%, and that'll like bring your grade up. The scatter plot test, did you take that?
Hold on. Yes.
Okay, so let's get that's turned in. What else is?
I did all of it.
These are all turned in. Okay, cool. Let me know, because it's hard for me to stay up on top of all the upcoming tests and projects. I really try, but with 3 different math teachers and what 2 different history teachers, no, there's only one science teacher. It gets convoluted. So let me know if there's an upcoming math test and then we can study for it.
Okay.
And then that way you can feel more prepared for it. Okay, so when you're done with the IRP, just upload a picture and check in with Mr. Buchanan.
Okay.
All right, see you later.
Scout. Bye. Alright. This way. And then over here, up here. Ooh, that's actually lit. I like that skin. Dang, that's awesome. Whoa, that's cool. Whoa. Okay, over here. Happened there. Okay. I'll take a note. Let me take a note of that. EMU Gaming 1213 hashtag 3057. I put okay. Okay, done. I put that in. Hydro Gamer 2. It's I'll put it in chat. underscore. Hashtag 20. Done. Alright. It's just don't do that thing. Oh great, I didn't and that's just right. Everyone head to bed. Supernatural mobs.
He used to make his tech class when they were learning how to do one of these Photoshop type programs do this kind of thing where they would have to mix up a food and an animal.
Oh, a food and an animal?
Yes, there was like some dog-faced Twinkies and some very weird things.
Oh, yuck. Very unappealing.
But I feel like this would be fit right in there.
I never heard about that assignment. Oh, with some good ones. All right, does anyone have the worst mashup? I can tell you what the last class's was, and it actually has been pretty consistent. Tova, what's your least favorite here?
I think mine would be the penguin. But
Oh,
not because I don't like penguins,
Okay,
but cats don't like
oh,
water,
let me see
right?
here.
And I feel like that they wouldn't like the cold very much either. So
oh, okay.
why would I
Okay.
But that could be. It just looked, that cat penguin thing looks like it actually is a real thing. Even the cat whale.
Where are we
But
going?
I like how empathetic you are, Tova, for the poor animals. They're like, but they wouldn't want it. They don't like water.
Oh my gosh. I just do not like the look of that cobra cat snake. The last period was calling it the cake. The snake with the cat. And it's just, it would constantly be hissing. Whether it's cat or snake traits, constantly hissing, nasty looking thing. I don't know. I do not like that.
I feel like that one could have survived. I feel like that could have been around in ancient Egypt, guarding the tombs. It feels like one of those types of cat snakes.
Definitely. But I do not like the chicken cat. The chicken cat just looks so sad, so miserable. I don't know. Just looks sad. That one I'd have to say don't like too much. Okay, let us get on with the show here. Here we go. This is really important, and Ms. Gdansky, I don't have a lot of information about this, so if you know more and could correct me or add to this, please do. 8th grade homerooms, we don't actually have homeroom this week as scheduled. Instead, you are going to be attending a meeting with your prospective high school. So wherever it is that you are currently registered to go to high school, and I'll tell you what to do if you're not sure which school you're going to. But if you know what school you're going to next year, the high schools are hosting a meeting, and your 8th grade teachers will be in the meetings helping run them. So I'm running a Roosevelt meeting, and there's different teachers doing different things. So as far as I know, you don't actually go to your regular homeroom class. Instead, you're going to find a new link, which I will tell you where to find it, and you will go to this new link, and that is where you're normally spend
Why
in
do I have
your homeroom class. So I'll tell you where to get the link in just a second. So where to get the link, and I know you guys can't see this, but this is what it will look like. So your homeroom teacher is going to post these links for you, and your homeroom teacher will post
Okay.
it on Schoology in their homeroom advisory Schoology page. They may have
Whoa.
not posted anything at all this year. I haven't posted anything on my homeroom page, but
I glitched
this
it out.
is going to be there ready for my homeroom to use tomorrow.
Creeper?
I will also
Ooh,
post
chest.
it on my science page. So if in your head you're like, oh, Moscow says she's posting the links, just go to, the regular science Schoology page, and on the very, very tippy top, this will be just sitting there and waiting for you. It doesn't matter if you're in my homeroom or not in my homeroom. All the links will be posted. And all you need to do is find the link for the high school to which you are going next year. So Nathan Hale is here, Ingram, and then Roosevelt is divided up by last name. So if you are not going to any of these high schools next year, like some students are
No, I can't.
living in different places, some students were accepted into private schools, there's all kinds of different things going on. If that is you, then you should take the day off and sleep in and work on all your missing work.
How many secret things do you
But
have?
you might want to check in with your homeroom teacher, just
my
send them an
God.
email today and say, I know we're doing the high school meetings tomorrow, but I'm actually going to, such and such school, so that's not one of these schools. What should I do? You might just check in with your homeroom teacher so they don't go around
There's
trying to
mobs
find
down
out
here.
where you were and why you didn't
There's
attend.
mobs.
It
there's
just would
mobs.
help things be a little more clear. But regular homeroom, no tomorrow. Yes, going to meet with your prospective high schools for next year. Yes, Tova.
So I'm wondering, Roosevelt, but where should I join the? And my last name starts with L, right? So should I join the KJ through RI, or what is the ending of the letters be?
So your last name is L. So where it was, your name would fall between K and J through R. So K through R, that would be you.
Okay.
Right? Okay. They because there's a lot of people with their last name starts with a K, and so it's never mind.
Oh, hey.
You know which one to go to. We don't have to go into it. Okay. Anything else that people have questions about for tomorrow? So for tomorrow, homeroom, no, special thing to meet with your high school instead. Okay, pretty simple. And if you get lost, you can always go to your homeroom teacher. They will get notified or pinged that you're waiting, and they can go grab you and tell you where you need to go. But this will be up on my science page. It will also be up on my homeroom page, so you can find it. It will not be a problem for you. Ms. Gdansky, do you know anything more about the meetings for tomorrow? Or is that it? Pretty much it.
That's all I know.
That's all you know. Okay, as much as I do, which is not a whole lot. But and I don't know exactly what they're going to be talking about either. But I know that since high school is really, really important in terms of credits and taking the right courses and making that plan to make sure that you're prepared to do whatever you want to do after college or after high school, that you're there to ask, hear what they have to say and answer those questions. So make sure that you are there and prepared. And there will be teachers there also to, there'll be Eckstein teachers there to help field your questions as well. Okay, coming up, this is really important. Friday, you have part 1 of a test in this class. And Tuesday of next week will be part 2 of our evolutionary history test. let me tell you about part 1 so you can be thinking about what it is you think and what you'd like to say about which the mystery fossil is most likely or closely related to. That's the first part of the test. So on Friday, we're going to do a summary and a review,
Wait.
and then when it's work time,
Better not.
you're going to be asked which do you think the mystery fossil is most closely related to, the wolf or the whale. So you're going to be writing a few paragraphs about what you think, what evidence do you have, why do you think it's not this animal, but instead it has to be this one. So that's the first part of the test, and we've done those before. It's basically making a claim and supporting it with evidence. The second part of the test will be next week on Tuesday, and that part of the test will be more like just a traditional type of test, where there will be, some short answer and some multiple choice questions asking you about evolutionary history and the work that paleontologists do. So we'll review for the test in the morning on Tuesday, and then when we meet as a group, we will finish the test after that. Does anyone have any questions about Friday or about Tuesday's test? Addie?
Yeah, so for the meeting, is it multiple schools that are feeding into the meeting, or just Eckstein?
It's just Eckstein.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, if there's no questions, someone last period had a great question. They said, well, if we know what we're doing on Friday, and we're actually writing a few paragraphs to state our claim and support it, can I start, writing it now? Of course you can. If you're the type of person that really needs a lot of time to write and kind of think and ponder about what you'd like to say, go back through the old PowerPoints and look at the evidence that we have. Of course you can, right? If you're just sitting around and don't have anything else to do, you can, open up a Word document and you could talk to text it. You can get all kinds of good ideas, and then you can just maybe use the time that we have here at school or at home when we're doing the test to sort of refine it and organize it and make it all come together. So of course, you know what the questions are going to be. It's going to be which do you think it is and why. So you can start working on that in advance if you have some extra time. Okay, so there's a couple of things we don't know yet, and
They all left me.
the big question that some people have been asking is, all right, I get that wolves and whales look kind of similar to the mystery fossil in some ways, but there's still some differences. They don't look exactly the same. So clearly there's differences. Why are there differences? So let's go back to this picture. We've seen this a few different times, or similar pictures of these homologous structures. We have 4 animals that have very similar structures in their front limbs. This means they all have a what? Someone unmute themselves and shout it out. What does it mean if they all have similar structures?
They have a common ancestor.
They have a common ancestor, absolutely. So we know that these 4 animals, humans, cats, whales, and bats, way back in time, had a common ancestor, which is kind of cool to think about, because then that means that we're all these animals, we're all related to each other. But if you look at these limbs, you would have to notice that even though they have similarities, they are not the same. There are some very, very clear differences. The whale front limb, the bat front limb, they do not look anything alike to each other, and they certainly don't look like the human arm. Who has an idea of why that might be? Why does the whale front arm look so much different than the bat or the human? How is that possible? That they look so different? Keziah?
Because of the both.
Because of the what now?
Because of the both.
Oh, because it evolved. Okay. So definitely evolution has something to do with it. So, Addie, anything specific about how they would have evolved to be different?
Is it because of mutation?
Because they had random mutations. And so whales, for example, would have a random mutation perhaps that would make this type of limb that you see here, that would cause them to be more adapted to their environment, which is of course swimming around in the water. So we call these adaptive traits. So because of a random mutation, right, because of evolution, whales have adapted to live in a water environment, where bats have adapted to live in an environment where they are more flying through the air. Oh, Miss Levine has just popped in, yes? A decibel meter in that closet, right about chin height. There are all kinds of tools in there, all in like little black cases. Rummage through there and see if you can find a decibel meter. And that might need could possibly need a battery of some kind, but yes. Okay, decibel meter. All right. Yeah. Okay, so adaptive trait, if it's not, yeah, I can help you later, if you can't find it. Adaptive traits are the reason, right, that we have these similar structures but not exactly the same, because these animals have evolved in different environments over time. Does anyone have any questions about that? So once again, they're similar, but they're not exactly the same, okay, because of evolution and these animals living in different environments. So I'm glad that you mentioned mutation, because yesterday, when students were working on this assignment, lots of people forgot about mutations, and I want to remind everybody that's where it all starts. The only reason we have humans and whales and all of these different species are because of random mutation. Even though humans have a common ancestor to cats, and we can tell because of the common features in our front arm, we have evolved differently over time because of random mutations. So just to remind everybody, and then we're going to add a little twist to this. The random mutation happens first, and then natural selection comes into play. And remember, when we say natural selection, it's not a person coming in going, oh, we're going to keep you, and nope, you're going to go extinct, and this is going to happen over here. Nobody's making that decision. It's the environment that makes that decision. So if the environment is changing, and it's not like it was in the past, if a mutation occurs that is benefiting that animal, it will survive long enough to pass on its trait to others, to its offspring. If the environment is staying stable and it's not changing, mutations can come and go, but the natural selection is not going to be playing a very big part in what's happening with the survival of the animals at that moment. So let me give you, we talked about this before, so I don't have to give a lot of details. Think back to the woolly mammoth. The woolly mammoth did fine until the environment changed. Okay? Remember, random mutations are always happening, and as the environment started to change really quickly, those woolly mammoths that had lots and lots of woolly fur got too hot and couldn't survive in the temperatures, and they went extinct. But any offspring that they had that had a random mutation that allowed them to be more on the bald side, those are the ones that survived. So if the Earth would have just stayed the same darn temperature, we would have woolly mammoths today. They would still be with us, okay? But because of the change in the temperature, they went extinct. So if the environment stays constant, right, then not much change will happen to any populations,
If you're watching the stream,
right? There are not going to be any big evolutionary leaps. But if the environment is changing, if it's not stable, that's when you have natural selection. It's either going to select out those that don't have a mutation that's successful, or animals that do have a good mutation, or a mutation that allows them to survive easier, will pass on that trait to the next animal. And this is why we have elephants today. Elephants are direct descendants of the woolly mammoth, right? They're a different species, and that species was caused because of the change in the environment. So environment plays a part in this, but it's not the environment causing it to happen. It's the environment that is the natural selection that either allows animals to survive or removes them from the population. Here's a really good example, different from the woolly mammoth, reminding us that body structures will stay the same if the environment stays constant, but body structures will change, okay, over many generations through natural selection if the environment is changing. So here's a story, not about woolly mammoths, but about the brown bear. So the brown bear has always been very common in North America. There are brown bears all over in Washington state. Okay, some of you may have even seen a brown bear before out hiking around. So there's brown bears all over the place. Back in the woolly mammoth's time, the earth warmed up. We just talked about that. And the brown bears, who all were sort of concentrated in the area that we call the United States today, and and in Canada, those brown bears were all kind of crunched into one location, and that means they had to compete for food. And those animals not wanting to compete for food, right? It's a lot easier just to have food like right there. You reach out and grab it, and there's a nice big salmon for you to eat, and there's lots of berries, and there's lots of good roots to eat. If you have to fight with the person next door for that, it gets to be, kind of irritating, right? So the bears moved further and further away from each other because the temperature of the earth started to warm up, and the snow and the ice up north started to melt. And they were like, woohoo, there's more food to eat up here, and I can get away from that brown bear and that brown bear and that one that's always stealing my food. And they just started to spread out. They started to migrate. And so the brown bears moved further and further north, way up into Alaska, way, way, way north of Canada, up to the areas where all was commonly covered with snow and ice that were not accessible to them. But guess what? The mini ice age returned, and the brown bears were trapped up in the north, right? They didn't hop on a plane and get to come back. They didn't know what was going on. They just noticed year to year it was getting colder and colder and icier, and now they can't find food. Most of them died, but because of random mutations, some of them survived. And the ones that survived, guess what? Were the ones that you see here in the bottom part of the picture here. They're what we call the polar bears today. They are direct descendants of the brown bears that got trapped up north when the mini ice age actually returned. And so those with random mutations to have lighter colored fur, big, huge, fat paws for walking around on snow and ice and dispersing your weight so you don't crash through the ice. Those brown bears that evolved to have fur that's actually transparent. You can actually see through it. They don't actually have white fur. They actually have see-through fur to let the sunlight through. So those animals that had that successful mutation were able to survive, and they now formed a new species. So again, when the environment changed, that is what allowed us to have a new species. It didn't cause it. The mutations are what caused the change to happen. But whether they survive or not through natural selection has everything to do with the environment. Okay? Does anyone have any questions about that? I'm going to skip this slide because it's not important. Okay. So instead of talking about brown bears and woolly mammoths here, let's take a look going back to our fossils. So here we have a common ancestor on the left-hand side.
I don't know.
Okay, species A is the common ancestor, or the parent, if you will, of the two descendant species B and C. Now remember, species B and C and species A are all related to each other. And we know they're related to each other because if we look at them, we can see that they have lots of common traits. Okay? We see they have a backbone and a tail, and they've got front and rear limbs. So there's lots of things that they have in common, enough things that they have in common, which we would say, oh, they're clearly related to each other. But now that we start looking at, okay, I get that they're related, they have similar features. Now we can start thinking about the environment that they lived in, because we can start looking at the features like the polar bear with their transparent fur to let the sun through, or the polar bear that has big, gigantic paws. Well, Miss Levine is cute. Oh, okay. She has a joke, but she's going to tell me later. Polar bears with their big, giant paws to help support them and spread out their weight as they're walking across the ice. Those features, right, tell us that they lived in a different environment than brown bears do. So let's look at B and C. Paleontologists would look at fossils B and C, and they would start thinking about, well, what type of environment did they live in? They're clearly related to each other, but they have enough differences that make me think that one would be better suited for living in one type of environment than another. So it turns out that one of these is a swamp dweller, and the other one is one that lives in the water. So look at B and C. Which do you think is more likely to be a swamp dweller? Which one do you think is more likely to live in the swamp? Tova, what do you think?
C.
You think B is more likely to be in a swamp? How come?
No, I said C.
Oh, C. C is more likely to be in a swamp. How come?
Because the back leg was longer, and I feel like pushing through a swamp would be a little harder than moving.
Yeah, if you're wading through a swamp, having a bigger leg, rear leg might be helpful for moving through like mud and things like that. That makes sense to me. Keziah, what do you think?
I think B, because the nostril looks like it's really high up on the head, and the tail might help because it's longer, so it could help it move through the swamp. And then also its leg is smaller, so that might mean it needs to walk less or something.
Okay. Maxine, which one do you think is a swamp dweller? We've got votes for each now.
I think C, because there's like a list of adaptive structures on the side, and it said for the swamp, for the water, they have long tails, which B has, small back limbs, which B has, and nostrils on the top of their skull, which B also has. So I think that B is the water dweller, and C is the swamp.
So let's ask some other folks this question. Let's start with the Jack. I'm going to start with you. Jack, could you tell us why having a nostril at the top of your head rather than at the tip of your head, why would it be better to have a nostril on the top of your head if you swim in the water?
You would only have to like poke the top of your head out of the water to get air.
That's totally right. I mean, if you're always in the water and you have to lift your head up to take a breath, that's kind of annoying. But if it's just at the top of your head, you just have to poke it up, right? Might help with hunting, might make it faster, all that kind of thing. Let's ask Aaron, can you tell us about the tail? Species B has a really long tail, species C has a short tail. Which do you think would be better, Aaron, to have a longer tail? Do you think that's better for a swamp or a water environment?
I think having a shorter tail would be better while living in a swamp because it seems like it would be really hard to drag a long tail through the swamp.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. If you had a long tail and you're trying to go through mud and bushes and weeds and all kinds of stuff, dragging that tail through there would definitely slow you down. Can anyone think of a benefit for having a long tail in the water? If you had a really long tail, why would that be good for a water type environment? Not a swamp environment, but like completely living in the ocean or a lake or something like that. Tova?
Like you could use it to go faster.
Yeah, you could use it to propel yourself and move faster. And you guys, you're exactly correct. Species B is a water-dwelling creature, and species C is a swamp-living creature because of the reasons that you shared. Long tails are more important for animals who live in the water. I mean, if you think of animals who are water dwellers and the types of tails they have to move them, beavers, dolphins, otters, whales, those animals have really strong, powerful tails because their environment, right, it's beneficial to them to have acquired that mutation somewhere along the way. They are better at adapted to live in the environment where they're completely under the water. That nostril being on the top of the head is surely more beneficial for animals that are constantly living in the water. And do you really need a back leg if you're swimming in the water all the time? Probably not. There's a little one here in species B, but a much larger front limb, maybe for, paddling around, a powerful tail to paddle around, but the rear limb is not looking that important. And of course, moving through the swamp, you would definitely need strong limbs to move through the swamp, and having a tail to drag along would not be that great. And I would suspect that over time, if we were to go many, many, many more generations past B and C and keep going, I bet these animals would change even more. I would suspect that species C might lose a tail altogether and might adapt to have a really big, strong rear limb over time. So you might, and species B, that tiny rear limb might just get tinier and tinier and tinier and tinier until it just all but disappears, right? So in this particular snapshot in time, though, you can tell that these two animals, these descendants, are slightly differently evolved because of the environments that they live in. And so, what about our mystery fossil? If we're trying to decide if it's more like a wolf or more like a whale, right? At the top here, we have our mystery fossil. Underneath, we've got an orca whale fossil, and underneath there, we have a wolf fossil, or skeleton, I should say. We know what type of environment whales and wolves live in. We know some things about them. What about the mystery fossil? What type of environment do you think it? I mean, look at the different structures: the front legs, the rear legs, the nostril placement, the tail, the teeth. Can any of us make a hypothesis about how this animal was it better adapted to live on land, better adapted for the water? What was it hunting? You might be able to make a guess about what type of food it was eating based on what you can see. Any guesses on this?
All right, pass.
I'm not going to give you guys any hints. What do we think is that mystery fossil? Can we say anything about the type of environment that it lived in? More water, more land? Ella, what do you think?
I'm thinking maybe land because the really long legs. I'm not sure.
Okay, so it's got relatively long legs, so maybe a land dweller. Paige, what do you think?
I also think land because, like what Ella said, the limbs are closer to the length of the wolf, and the nostril is the same place that the wolf has it instead of the whale.
So I just wanted to point this nostril thing. Nobody can ever tell because it's really hard to see in this fossil picture. The nostril's actually not at the tip of the nose like the wolf. It's not at the top of the head like the orca whale, but it's in between. So it's not all the way on the top of the head, but it's not all the way at the tip. It's somewhere in between. But I do understand what you're saying about the legs. Addie, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm like onto something or I could be wrong, but we watched a video a couple of days ago about an animal that had a nostril. I think it was a dolphin. Is that the animal that was in the video, or was it something else?
I can't remember what kind of animal it was, but it was definitely a water dweller. So some animals like I don't even know if it's a dolphin, but some things that are dolphin-like or whale-like do have a nostril that is halfway in between. It's not all the way at the top of their head. Like some whales clearly have those at the top of their head. Okay, so how long does it take for these changes to happen? So whether the mystery fossil is more closely related to a wolf or a whale, well, we've got a few more bits of data that we can look at, but I do want us to continue to think about the environment. If it's more closely related to a wolf, a land-living animal, how long does it take to move from the mystery fossil to a wolf-like creature? Or how long does it take for the mystery fossil to evolve into a more whale-like creature? How long does it take? And so what I'd like us to take a look at is this really quickly. And I think this is pretty simple and kind of obvious to tell, but I just want to take a moment for you guys to think about this and just get it set in your brain. How long do we think it takes for these changes to happen? Take a look at these groups of pictures. There's group A, B, C, and D. What kind of pattern do you see happening here? As I go from single-celled life to first mammals, I see 3.4 billion years. Going from one type of tortoise to another type of tortoise takes 2 million years. What pattern do you guys see here? It's not a trick question. What do you think this is trying to tell us, this slide?
Thank you.
What do you think? Stella, what do you think this is trying to show us when we look at single-celled life going to first mammals taking 3.4 billion years, but going from tortoise to tortoise takes 2 million years?
That maybe their environment didn't change that much, and that they kind of just they didn't have to be selected out.
Okay, maybe it says something about the environment. That's a really good guess. Really good guess. Dante, what do you think?
I'm not sure.
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. Leia, what do you think?
I was just gonna say, I'm not sure if this was the exact question, but larger changes take the most amount of time.
Yeah, it is. It's a pretty simple concept. Larger changes always going to take more time. So going from single-celled life to a billion, celled, very complex mammal is going to take an order of billions of years, because single-celled organisms, they're really, they're just one cell, right? They don't have skin, bones, heart, brain, lungs, fur, eyes. They have none of those things. And so it's always going to take longer to make the bigger changes. To go from tortoise to tortoise, right? They're really closely related. Just look at the picture. If you didn't know anything about turtles, you'd say, oh, there's turtles there. right? You probably wouldn't even call them a tortoise. And if you knew they were both tortoises, you'd say, oh yeah, there's a couple of tortoises. They don't look that much different. So the amount of time it would take them to change would be very, very small. Okay? So the bigger the changes, the more time it's going to take to happen. Okay? That's all that we're trying to say. So when you start thinking, going back to this slide, and you start looking at how similar or how different these animals might be, right? Remember, the question is, which is the more closely related animal, right? So the more closely related means they are going to look more similar. All right, that's just really important to note. Okay, so that brings us to here, to your job for today. So remember, whether you're at school or not, at 1:15, we are going to all be working together on the Schoology assignment called Investigating Differences in Body Structures Over Time. So I will expect to see everyone here online in this meeting or here at school working on this assignment. We will go over 2 of these questions from the assignment that were causing some trouble for folks yesterday. We'll go over 2 of those questions, and as soon as you've submitted your assignment, you are welcome to go. Or you can stay as we go over some of the questions so that you get them all right. Okay? Those of you at school, we will be building motors. Those of you who are in cohort C, you should also be working on motors. If you look in the cohort C folder, there is something there for you to do. All right, everybody, we're out of here and running off to 6th period. I will see all of you later today. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. We're going to get started in here just a second. What I would like from you guys is I would like in the chat, I would like to know which is better, books or movies, and why? Which is better, books or movies, and why? Which is better, books or movies, and why? And we have first one, movies, because of the actor. And then it depends on the story. Movies, because books take too much effort to read. Books, because you can get a deeper understanding of what the character is thinking. Another depends on the story. And just movies. But I want to know why movies. I want to know why movies. Depends on the story. Another depends on the story. So I have a question. Movies, because you can watch them with family and friends. It's like a collective effort. When reading, it's kind of by yourself. Okay. So I have a question. Which is better? Harry Potter as the books, or Harry Potter in the movie? We have one person that says in the books. Harry Potter as the movies. You got one that says it's a tie. Okay. Fiction, sometimes they go. Okay. How about for the Harry Potter series? Are the books, the Harry Potter books, better? Or are the movies better? Okay. Books don't have technological restrictions. Okay. All right. I'd also like you guys to open up your OneNote. We're going to be doing some work in our OneNotes today. So if you could open up your OneNote and then raise your hand to let Mr. Haug and I know that you have your OneNote open. You should see a new Activity 5 in there. 5.4, Activity 5. If you don't, you may need to refresh your OneNote. But I see 5 people already telling Mr. Haug and I that you have your OneNote open. Thank you. All right, well, we're waiting for you to get your OneNote open. I'm going to take attendance. All right, I see 17 people with their hands up. I'm sorry, 16 people, now 17, their hands up. 18, 19 telling us that they have their OneNote open. Thank you. I'm going to do a quick check. Will, are you able to get your OneNote open?
Sorry, yeah. Raise my hand.
All right, no worries. And Lucas Bagley, are you able to get your OneNote open?
Oh, yes. Yes,
All right.
I only raised my hand.
Okay, thank you. And Perrin, are you able to get your OneNote open?
Yeah.
All right, cool. If your hand is up, you can lower it, please. While you guys are lowering your hands, our task for today, we're going to go over our afternoon expectations, like what we need to do this afternoon. Then we're going to do some review from Friday, because I want to make sure we're really clear on some things from our Defining Freedom video. All right, you're going to see the source being updated today and tomorrow with the work that we've done so far this quarter from our OneNote. So any of the past OneNotes, you're going to want to make sure that you've completed those as well. And if you see in the grade book that they're marked as missing, you need to email me to let me know that you've completed them, and then we will update the source. But if you don't email me, I won't know that you've completed them. All right, and then we're going to do the Power of Laws activity, and then we're going to break down our prompts for our unit tests. So we're going to get part of our unit test today and like introduced to that. Then we're going to spend the next. All right. So afternoon expectations. Today's an A day, which means A group will be in person. Groups B and C will be virtual online. If you are in B or C and you have a question this afternoon about our activity for today, this afternoon's activity, you can log on and Mr. Haug or I will be here to be able to help you and answer your question. All students are going to be required to complete 5/4 activity 5, breaking down the prompts in your OneNote class notebook. All right. With that in mind, are there any questions? So here's what I want us to do. We're going to go back to Friday's work in our OneNote. So I want you to click on Activity 4, Defining Freedom. 4:30, Activity 4, Defining Freedom in your OneNote class notebook. And I want you to scroll down to Part 3. It's the part with the questions from the video. I'd like you to take a look at those. All right. When we talk about the video, it talked about some of the hopes and aspirations and requests and wants that freed people wanted after emancipation, that they said that they needed to have a successful integration into society, into free society. What were some of the things, some of the hopes and aspirations and things that freed people said they needed to have? Yeah, Kaylin.
I'm pretty sure they said they wanted the right to be able to own land.
Yeah, they wanted to be able to own land. That was a big one that they said that they needed. To be able to own land. Yeah. Awesome. What were some of the other things other than land? Yeah, Elsa.
I wanted to fight in the war.
They wanted to be able to fight in the war, right? To be able to defend and push back against slavery and be able to fight and contribute against that fight. Yeah. What else? Frederick Douglass said that freed people needed this. He made a big push for it. And he said, without this, everything else doesn't matter. What did he say that freed people needed the right to do? Elsa?
Was it to vote?
Yeah, the right to vote. Right? He said that freed people needed to have the right to vote, and if they didn't get that, then it might as well just have slavery again. That was pretty close. That was a good paraphrase of his comments that were shown in the video. All right. So if you want to vote in the United States, what's one of the requirements that you have to be to vote in the United States? So there's an age requirement. You have to be 18. But what's the other requirement that you have to be? Yeah, parent.
A citizen.
Yeah, you have to be a U.S. citizen. And freed people said, hey, we want to be U.S. citizens like white people. We want to have that same standing. We want to be able to vote. We want to be able to own land. We want to be able to get an education. We want to be seen as the same status as white people in this society. Those were some of the things that they wanted. Now, when we talk about the 13th Amendment, however, the 13th Amendment is a law. It's part of the Constitution, and the Constitution is a law. It's considered the supreme law of the land. That means nothing can contradict the Constitution. 13th Amendment says slavery shall not exist in the United States except for when? Yeah, Justin.
It only can be used for punishment for someone who committed a crime.
Yeah, it could be used for punishment for a crime, right?
Yeah.
So although the 13th Amendment said slavery shall not exist, it gave an exemption of where it could exist. And who had the power to determine the status of that and what that meant and what all of that meant? Yeah, Owen.
Congress.
Congress. Does the 13th Amendment say anywhere in the amendment the word freedom and what freedom means?
Attention maintenance crew, please move your vehicle. Attention maintenance crew, please move your vehicle. It's blocking.
Does the 13th Amendment say anything about freedom? So Elise, I see you put in the chat, no, it doesn't. Yeah, 13th Amendment says nowhere on freedom. So when we go and we start looking at now, like what were some of the things freed people wanted after emancipation, and what we just talked about. Now, what were some of the questions that remained about the status of freed people? So this kind of goes with the wants or the requests or the dreams or the aspirations. So does the 13th Amendment say anything about freedom? No. So does the question, what does freedom mean for freed people? Is that a question that's left unanswered? What are some other questions that are still left unanswered at that time? freed people said they wanted land. What question about land is left unanswered? Do any freed people immediately after emancipation own any land? No. So what land should they get? Is that a question that's left unanswered? Can we just create land out of nowhere? Or is it limited? Justin, I think you were trying to say something.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's limited. You cannot just create it.
Yeah, there's a limited amount of land, right? That's part of the reason why housing, for example, and properties in Seattle cost so much money. Because it's limited. Right? And so when it's limited and you have a lot of people that want it, and all of a sudden you have 4 million people that were enslaved, and that's a lot of people. What's next? What does freedom mean for them? Should they be able to vote? When should they be able to vote? Should there be requirements for them to vote? Many of them haven't gone to school because they weren't allowed to. Should they be able to vote? Maybe it's their children that vote. Who should vote? Land. What land should they get? Should they get land? How will we distribute the land? U.S. citizens, should they be U.S. citizens? Should they not be U.S. citizens? What should the requirement be for citizenship? Those are all questions that were left unanswered. And according to the 13th Amendment, who had the power to answer those questions?
Rich white men.
Rich white men. Why do you say that? Yeah, Congress had the power, and rich white men were the people in Congress. And still today, even in 2021, the majority of people in Congress are rich white men. All right. So this is going to bring us into today, in our activity for today. So let's take a look at our OneNotes for today. And we're going to look right away at part 1. So move to activity 5, 5.4, activity 5, breaking down the prompts. And I'm going to give us about 10 minutes. And what I want you to do is I have a series of 6 different statements. And I want you to decide what your viewpoint is on each statement. And so, for example, number 1, laws alone can make freed people and their former masters equal members of society. What I would like you to do is to highlight which one you view is appropriate, and then write a quick explanation why, a 1 to 2 sentence explanation why. For that. Then you're going to move to number 2. It is possible to create a fully equal society. Do you strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree? Select one and explain why. Then move on to number 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to give us till 11 o'clock to finish this. Are there any questions? You have until 11 o'clock to finish part 1. If you have questions, speak up while we're working. There is about 1 minute left. All right, let's take a look at our part 1. Number 1 says, laws alone can make freed people and their former masters equal members of society. All right, with that in mind, let's see. James, what did you say? All right. And Juno, what did you write down?
I wrote, I disagree, and I said why was because I do not believe that laws would be enough to sway like the foreign masters and others that free people were equal. So the segregationists, and I don't remember what the other word in stamped was, would probably continue doing their best to downgrade the freed people and make sure that white male stayed as higher members of society.
Assimilationists.
Ah, that's it.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. Okay, thanks. And let's see. Olivia, what did you say?
I also said similar. I said disagree, especially just because I feel like it's not the whole, laws don't create the whole, it won't make everything equal. You also have to have, like, I guess not like just people, but people have to like also make it equal, you know, like it's not all about the law that makes it equal.
Okay. It's not just the law that makes it equal, it's the people too. Okay. All right, and let's see. Finn, what did you write?
For the first one?
Yes.
I said that laws alone aren't gonna stop, like, white people from harassing the freed people, and, like, there are definitely still biases from white people against the former slaves.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else for number 1? All right, let's move on to number 2. It is possible to create a fully equal society. Will, what do you think?
I said disagree because there's going to be a government, but that doesn't necessarily, and the government is always going to kind of have more power, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be bad.
Okay. And Aaron, what did you put? All right, Aaron, we'll come back to you. All right, Dylan, what did you put for number 2?
I also put disagree. And just in general, like, people make different choices and they have different levels of, like, ability and power. So it'll just people make different choices and it's gonna be
it will not work. It's kind of impossible to make everybody on the same level of agreement.
Okay. Okay. And Graham, what did you put?
For which question?
Number 2.
Well, I said yes, you can create an equal society, but an equal society isn't always a fair society. Because by the time you're born, you're not equal to other people because some families are more rich, or you have better sports talent, or you're smarter than people, or you're dumber than people, so it's hard to create an equal and fair society.
Oh, okay. All right, anybody else for number 2? Let's move on to number 3 then. People are most responsible for creating an equal society, not laws. Let's see here. All right, Lucas H., what did you say?
For the third one?
Yes.
Well, I said I agreed because the people are the ones that make the laws.
Okay, you said you agreed because laws don't exist if it wasn't for people. Okay. All right, Julia, what did you say?
I said, sorry, 1 second. Laws can only go so far to create an equal society, because they can't stop people from thinking or like believing certain things or treating people certain ways, and so certain people have to do that.
Okay. Okay. Great. And so I'm looking at the time, and the reason we did this activity was to get us thinking about what were some of the ideas that were swirling around with Reconstruction, because Reconstruction was this chance for American society to kind of like redefine itself and restructure itself and recreate itself. And, you know, that most definitely was true, maybe not for everyone, but most definitely true for the 4 million freed people that previously had no standing in the society because of slavery. And so this was to get us thinking about our prompts in our work for this afternoon. So I'm going to scroll down now, and I want to talk about part 2 and part 3, because part 2 and part 3 are the same thing except with different prompts. And so our assessment for this unit on Reconstruction, we're getting it now near the beginning of this, because that way we can work on and build towards our unit and towards our assessment. What I want us to do today is to kind of break them down and do some work that's going to not only help you understand what each prompt is, but also give Mr. Haug and I feedback on how to structure class and what to cover moving forward. And so our first prompt says, support, refute, or modify this statement. Laws are the most important factor in overcoming discrimination. And so I want you to do some work on this by highlighting any words in the prompt that you do not know or understand. For example, refute. I'm not 100% sure what that means, so I'm going to highlight that. It says bold words that seem to be the main ideas of the prompt. Laws, important overcoming discrimination. Okay, I think those are maybe some of the main ideas of the prompt. Underline the verbs that represent what you are supposed to do to answer the prompt. Well, it's asking me to support, refute, or modify. All right. So I just did these 3 steps here. Now, I'm going to write a response. My gut reaction response. Put it here. And then I'm going to do the same thing for prompt number 2, which says, historians call Reconstruction America's unfinished revolution. What debate and dilemmas from the Reconstruction era remain unresolved? Do the same 3 steps, highlight, bold, underline, and then a response, gut reaction. That's this afternoon's assignment. If you don't have any questions, you're free to log off. If you have questions, stay on and we can help answer it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.